So when we talk of CKD and oral anti-diabetic, I would like to qualify what an ideal uh, OAD is. It should be simple to use, safe and easy, should be non-nephrotoxic, should not have any renal or hepatic dose modification. Compliance should be good from dosing and side effect point of view. It should be safe for geriatric population, should not have a risk of hypoglycemia, should be safe from cardiovascular point of view, and the new concept of nephroprotective, as in the diabetes drug also saves the kidney. Yes. So is utopia actually possible? Can we answer all of these qualities in one OAD? Which is what I will try to find out in this talk, which I am now giving you. So CKD is very common in diabetics. And the Indian scenario was presented at Diabetes India conference in 2017, where I Care for Diabetes survey mentioned that every 1 in 2 diabetics have CKD if you take the eGFR of 77. But if you take the eGFR of 60, which is overt CKD, even then at least 1 in 5 diabetics have CKD. And in CKD, the diabetes treatment options become very limited. If you look at the various options, if you see the pointer here, the red is all those OADs which are contraindicated in all those stages of CKD. So if you see the SGLT2 inhibitors, metformin, acarbose are all contraindicated generally in eGFR less than 60. Rather, the only drugs which are green through all stages of CKD are linagliptin, repaglinide, insulin, but with caution, and I think that is all. So options are very limited. And what is the reason? The reason is that the challenges in optimizing glucose control in CKD are very many. Dose adjustment or cessation is required. With declining renal function, the clearance of insulin is decreased. Hypoglycemia is much more common, and there's reduced gluconeogenesis by the kidney. So hypoglycemia and the concomitant comorbidities like CVD and etc. have to be managed much more effectively in CKD. Rather, if you look at this curve, the incidence of hypoglycemia in patients who have CKD and diabetes is twice that of patients who do not have CKD in diabetics. So this is the major challenge which we come across in managing CKD diabetics. And we look out for an OAD which has good efficacy, minimal hypoglycemia, and is convenient. So probably linagliptin is one which probably answers all these criteria. As we see from efficacy point of view, monotherapy with linagliptin is quite effective, and even in poorly controlled diabetics with an HbA1c of 11.8%, linagliptin decreases HbA1c by 3.46% as a monotherapy. And in combination with metformin, as you see, as the patient's baseline HbA1c increases, the efficacy of the drug also increases. So linagliptin is efficacious. If you compare linagliptin with sulfonylureas in combination with metformin, you find that over time, the diabetes control is similar, whether you use linagliptin or glimepiride. But in contrast, when compared to glimepiride, the risk of hypoglycemia is 77% lower with linagliptin as compared to glimepiride. So definitely of advantage in our setting. Rather, that was the graph for general population, even in patients who have eGFR less than 45, which is the bar chart on the right side, or nephrotic range proteinuria, we find that the risk of hypoglycemia with linagliptin, the risk per patient years is similar to a placebo. And what is the reason? The reason being that the renal excretion of DPP-4 inhibitors, linagliptin is only 5% in contrast to the other DPP-4, which have almost 3/4 renal excretion. And this is the reason where when we talk of the dose adjustment of DPP-4 inhibitors, linagliptin does not require any dose modification because the renal excretion is almost zero. In contrast, most of the other DPP-4 inhibitors like sitagliptin, Saxa, and Vilda all require dose modification, which may be a challenge, as I will tell you in the further slides. Teneligliptin does not require any dose modification, but the limitations of teneligliptin in CKD are quite high with cardiac problems and hepatic problems. And this is the reason I was mentioning the dose modification. Nearly half of the patients, both in UK and US, were on an off-licensed or unlicensed dosage, which means that patients receiving DPP-4 inhibitors, other than Tradjenta, were receiving a dose which was not appropriate for their CKD GFR. So which means that other than linagliptin, which can be given 5 milligram once a day, the other DPP-4 inhibitors are generally being used in a dose which is inappropriate. And what is the harm? The harm was defined by a study from the Korean National Database, where they found that 2 out of 5 patients on sitagliptin and 25% patients on vildagliptin were actually receiving inappropriate dose. And the result of this was that there was an 11.5% increase in all-cause death, 19% increase in severe hypoglycemia, and 7.4% increase in emergency department visits because of this inappropriate dose. And there is where the advantage of linagliptin lies, that whatever the GFR may be, the same dose can be applied to all patients. Coming to renal outcome evidences, we have seen and all of us have used linagliptin across the entire spectrum of CKD, from mild impairment to moderate to ESRD and dialysis, to new onset diabetes after transplant, and to transplant in diabetics patient. And we have found that the preserved eGFR is maintained over 1 year. And this was shown beautifully in the Caramelina study, which was designed specifically to evaluate both cardiovascular and kidney outcomes. And the pre-specified educated composite renal endpoints were sustained ESRD, sustained reduction in eGFR, and renal death. And we find, and the advantage of Caramelina, or the good thing about it, was that it included patients who had underlying CKD. Rather, 80% of patients in the Caramelina trial had albuminuria, and 62% patients had CKD. So Caramelina was using linagliptin on CKD patients, and it was found that as compared to placebo, the renal endpoints like death due to kidney disease, progression to ESKD, and sustained eGFR degrees over more than 40% was similar to placebo, which means that linagliptin was renal safe. Rather, with reference to even the hard endpoints, linagliptin was comparable to placebo. But the new concept is going beyond renal safety to going to nephroprotection, as I mentioned earlier. And we all know as nephrologists that albuminuria is the single most important prognostic marker of CKD progression. And it was found that linagliptin decreases the incidence of albuminuria by 14%. So a reduction of 14% in albuminuria is seen in linagliptin as compared to placebo. And it was also found that in patients who had a significant reduction of more than 50%, the number was 15% higher in linagliptin group as compared to placebo group. And how does linagliptin does this? There is some preclinical evidence for this. If you see this center photo of the human normal glomerulus, in the glomerulus there is no DPP-4 expression, whereas the tubules only have on the periphery DPP-4 expression. Whereas if you see a normal mouse, the DP4 is present in the normal glomeruli. If you see a human diabetic nephropathy, the DPP4 expression is seen also in the glomeruli, which means that with diabetes and diabetic nephropathy, the DPP4 expression shifts towards a more ancient pattern, which means something which was manifest only in the tubules is now also manifest in the glomeruli. And this is the reason where linagliptin has some advantage. It inhibits endothelial to mesenchymal transition, thus ameliorates diabetic kidney fibrosis and progressive CKD. And this is probably not a class effect, but a drug-specific effect. So it prevents nephrotoxicity by inhibiting podocyte injury, by inhibiting myofibrillous transition, and increase GLP-1 receptor expression. Rather, in the mice model, linagliptin treated diabetic mice had suppressed DPP4 activity and protein expression and decreased kidney fibrosis. So this could be explained by a novel pleiotropic action of linagliptin, which restores normalcy in diabetic patients with renal impairment. Next, whenever we talk of giving any diabetic drug to a CKD patient, the cardiovascular and heart failure safety are of prime importance to us, because most of our diabetics who have CKD have multiple comorbid conditions. And both the Caramelina trial and the Carolina trial have demonstrated over long term that both the 3-point major adverse cardiac events, which is called 3P MACE, as well as hospitalization for heart failure, was similar in linagliptin as compared to placebo, which means that this oral anti-diabetic is safe from cardiac point of view. So utopia is actually possible, maybe yes, but when we compare linagliptin to the other DP4 inhibitors, we find that this is the only DPP4 inhibitor which has safety across the entire spectrum, whether it is the high CV risk or the heart failure or the kidney issues, and rather does not require a dose modification. In contrast, vildagliptin, it is uncertain for the CV and the heart failure risk. Saxagliptin may be safe for CV, but heart failure issues are there, and similar to other DP4 inhibitors. So to summarize, it is linagliptin, the drug I was talking about, has proven effectiveness and safety across broad range of patients. There is no need of dose adjustment in any stage of chronic renal or hepatic impairment. It has proven CV safety across broad spectrum of cardiovascular and renal risk, and there are robust evidence and guideline recommendations for effective and safe use in the form of the Caramelina trial. And because of long half-life, it ensures a single daily dosing and 24-hour glycemic control. So as we were trying to simplify the diabetes management with linagliptin, and which was a job given to me by the scientific committee, so a single drug is effective for any age group, any race, for heart failure, and across an entire CVD spectrum with any renal impairment, any hepatic impairment. So probably one single drug could be the baseline for managing our diabetics. Thank you so much, sir, for a patient hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Manish.